All right, this moment, we are continuing with the topic sin. The last time we looked at the meaning of sin, I remember we also looked at the different types of sin. We tried to look at the types of actual sin and possibly how mortal sin can be discovered or how we can know that the sin one commits is of a grave nature. So this moment we are looking at the effects of sin. The church teaches us that the sin we commit can be against us, the person who is committing. It's also against God. The sin we commit is against community. The sin we commit is also against the environment we live in. That is why today the world is burning. But particularly this moment, we want to look at the effect of sin on us as individuals. Now, we are aware that when Adam and Eve fell, what do I mean by falling? When they committed sin and fell short of the glory of God, we are told that they became ashamed of themselves. They could no longer face God. And that's exactly how it is in us. Each time we commit sin, we are ashamed of ourselves. Even let's look, for example, if you are conscious of yourself, there's something you did, and you know that you have done wrong. Sometimes if you walk into a crowd, or you walk into the church or office where you work, if a particular person looks so much on you, you will think that the person is aware of the wrong you have committed. It is nature. We are ashamed. We are put into shame whenever we commit. And that was why Adam and Eve were completely ashamed of God. Not necessarily because they were afraid of God, because they could no longer stand the same position they used to be when they were living well, when they were interacting with God. And so they started hiding themselves. Yes. And sin also, causes guilt. A good conscience will know whenever he or she commits sin. Even the bad conscience, you still know when you have done right or when you have done wrong. And so at the end, one will no longer be free with ourselves. It's just like if you offend your father or you offend your mother, the moment you see your father or your mother returning from somewhere, you want to start hiding because the guilt is there. But if you did well, you did what they asked you to do before they left the house. As they are coming, you will be the one running to meet them. Oh, daddy, welcome, mommy, welcome. It's a natural thing. We can't run away from it. Also, anyone who commits sin becomes spiritually empty. There's what is called spiritual emptiness. Yes, you lose your spiritual and moral power. That is the truth. That's what happened to Adam and Eve. When they disobeyed God, what happened? They lost their spiritual power. They were no longer in the spirit. They became empty. Remember the Bible said they found themselves, they were naked. Yes. It may not necessarily be physical nakedness, or maybe because they were not wearing clothes. It's more than that. Spiritually, they were naked because they could no longer interact with God the way it used to be. Because when the God talk, they hear him. And when he's walking to them, they know. And that's exactly what the Bible said. So when they committed the offense, and as God was coming to them, they heard the footstep of God. What happened? They started hiding from God. So instantly, you find out that immediately after the interaction, remember what God did to them. God asked them to leave the position where he placed them. Man who was supposed to enjoy paradise, man who was supposed to eat, even without laboring much, suddenly God says, you now have to labor before you eat. That's exactly what it is. Let's look at ourselves. Sometimes one is being told what right thing to do that will bring happiness to you and all. But because of the selfishness in man, because of the situation, and you go ahead to do something that is wrong, at the end of it all, you find out that that thing brings difficulty to you. You start suffering it. Sometimes if I had known, I wouldn't have done it. That is a major problem we have. Then, Remember that sin brings spiritual death. It goes beyond medical, the ordinary physical death. When you talk about physical death, well, yes, somebody you can die, you bury and all, but death goes beyond that. The question is, at the end of time, where will you be? Will you be with God? And so when somebody continues to dwell in sin, the end result is that the person is walking towards what? Eternal damnation. Like the Bible tells us, Romans chapter 6, verse 23, it says, wages of sin is what? Death. And added the clause, but God gives us what? Eternal life. But the man who is always committing sin, doing what is wrong, there's no way the person is walking towards eternal life. Rather, the person is walking towards the condemnation that will take place after the final judgment. That will definitely not be our portion. It is important that we continue to do things that are right, so that every day as we live our life, it goes to show that we are preparing our way to walk towards where? Heaven, a place in God. It's just like whatever we are doing every day in life, what are we doing? We are determining where we will go. It's just like students who go to school. Every day you go to school, you listen to your teachers. Is it not? You are expected to listen to your teachers. You are supposed to do assignments and so on and so forth. You are expected to read. What are you preparing? You are preparing for the end result. So what happens is, by the time you do your exams, that can be seen as death. But what will not happen? Remember your participation in class, going to school, participation in reading, listening to lectures, doing assignments. It's like the way we do our daily work, daily life. So when you do your exam, that is death. But what will not happen? At the end of it all, the teacher or the examiner will begin to mark results, mark your papers. Is it not? That paper is marking. It's like judgment, and which is true. It's judgment. But there are two results you are expecting. Either failure or what? Or pass. And is it the time you did the exam that you did it? No. Your participation in your class, you're doing assignments, reading, listening to teachers, obedience and everything. That was when you were working towards the success of your studies. So exam is only a final part that will lead you to it. These are the things we must take note of. So each day we live our life, we are taking a decision as to what our end will be. And that is why we must always be conscious of that fact, that if we continue to dwell in sin, it will lead us to where? Hell. And hell is not what any one of us is looking out for. May God bless us.